Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star Part 255 based on novel. So let's start. There was a 7-color light membrane that was as thin as a piece of film high up in the sky covering the vast continent. It had an extremely strong resistance, but Luophone could easily pass through it. This resistance, I think only a sector lord will be able to penetrate. Luophone nodded slightly, then headed downward to the ground. Just being high up in the sky, Luophone could feel an extremely strong suction force from beneath. It was so strong that Luophone was taken aback. Such a strong force, he said. I think only those of universe level would be able to keep flying under such force. He only flashed about in midair for a short moment before he landed on the vast grounds. The moment his feet touched the ground as he landed, the strong suction force weakened to be almost negligible, all within an instant. Luophone commented lightly, Yuan Ao Master really put in a lot of thought and effort when he created these 12 continents. One great continent and one 7-color light membrane. There must be a repulsive force between the two so as not to feel such a strong repulsive force upon landing. Luophone could not help but marvel at the capability of Yuan Ao Master, who came to existence during the earliest period after the birth of the universe. At the very least, his efforts were evident in the creation of these 12 continents. Luophone scanned his surroundings. This was a deserted plain in pitch-black darkness. At first glance, there were countless skeletons left lying on the grounds, and many were already decomposing. There were some that were still sturdy and whole. Obviously, the death was not too long ago. This battlefield occupies a space around 6,000 miles wide, Luophone said to himself. Among the corpses lying around, there are some who were highly skilled, while the others were mediocre. The best around here is merely a sector lord. With his godly power, he investigated the entire battlefield and discovered the corpses of 3 sector lords. One was buried deep underground while the other 2 were hidden deep within the mountains. On either side of the battlefield, there was an incomparably majestic ancient city. On the walls surrounding both cities, for a distance of at least 6,000 miles, there were large numbers of warriors on patrol. These warriors looked like they all came from different races, and the city's walls reeked of blood, as though they were telling the cruelest stories found in the history of war. Battlefield. Impregnable passes on both sides. Luophone underwent a rapid transformation where his wings became a dark green color, and his hairstyle became a cropped short and fiery red. His skin also turned dark green. This look resembled the soldiers of one of the races he managed to detect when he investigated the place with his godly power. I cannot identify this race at all. He conducted his investigation with his consciousness, rapidly scanning through the virtual universe, but what he found gave him a good shock. Ka Vulture Clan? This weak little race disappeared from the universe a long time ago. Only some remnants of it are left in the Yuan Ao region. Luophone sighed. Previously, when Yuan Ao Master rampantly plundered about, who would have expected him to leave behind a trace of this Ka Vulture Clan? With one step, Luophone crossed the majestic frontier of the city, which was more than 6,000 miles away from where he was. Luophone appeared in the sky above the incomparably luxurious and vast city where thousands of people were bustling with excitement. Luophone was positioned high up in the sky, so naturally, those ordinary life forms would not be able to see him. Luophone checked the golden toad that he held in his left palm. Both eyes were still gray. Still gray. Every continent is immeasurably massive. This toad with its gray eyes will only be able to detect if I am within a distance of 60 million miles away from my target. How long will that take? Luophone took another step forward. He would continue investigating until he reached the 60 million mile range. Luophone embarked on a long period of investigative works. Out of these 12 continents, the one of the smallest diameter would be around 1 light year, and the biggest could be as big as 8 light years. Every time Luophone teleported, he made sure to maintain 60 million miles, so if he were to teleport 10,000 times a day, it would take 10 days for him to pass through a continent with a diameter of 1 light year. And the width itself was already 1 light year. If I had to look into 12 such continents, I'm afraid I would need several tens of thousands of years. Fortunately, The investigative works would only require some efforts on my part. Therefore, Luo Feng only took out a trace of his consciousness to begin on this long journey of investigative works. The bulk of his consciousness was completely devoted to studying the beast god path and pictures of secret engravings. In the twinkling of an eye, Luo Feng had spent half a year on this continent. Nothing. There is nothing here, either. Here. Here. It's red now. After teleporting repeatedly, Luo Feng suddenly stopped. The eyes of the golden toad in his hand turned fiery red. After half a year of probing around, this was the first time the eyes of the golden toad had turned red. Naturally, Luo Feng was so overwhelmed with emotions that his other bodies temporarily stopped cultivating too. In that direction. Luo Feng looked up into the distance. With one teleportation, he reached around 1 million miles away from his target. Thereafter, Luo Feng started flying. 1 million miles. I can make it there in a split moment. I have to see for myself what the situation is around the target. What could be so highly regarded by Ancestral God of the Ancestral God School, the universe's top power, who even mentioned that something terrible might happen to the primal universe? Luo Feng did not dare to be the least bit careless and maintained due vigilance. After all, Ancestral God mentioned that something bodes ill for the primal universe, so it would be no simple affair, after all. Flying high in the air, Luo Feng's godly power investigated within 6,000 miles of his surroundings as he did not dare to probe too far away, lest he alerted his target unnecessarily and gave it the chance for escape. This was Luo Feng's first time investigating a vast continent so meticulously. This task showed him scenes depicting snippets of life on this continent where various events of love and hatred unfolded before him. Luo Feng got to see the uniqueness of the civilization on this dark continent with his own eyes, and that made him happy. Interesting fellow, unlucky fellow. Luo Feng's power suddenly locked down on a certain spot of this continent. Mighty Flame family, just you wait. I, will become the Great Holy One, and then I will raise the entire Mighty Flame Fortress to the ground. To search memories, firstly, one had to be good in the skill itself. Secondly, both parties must be very far apart. This torch-smelting master god was also a universe knight, albeit a very weak one, but he was very good with aspects involving souls, so Luo Feng could at most push him into an illusion but was unable to search his memories. Luo Feng stood where he was, waiting silently for a moment. Finally, he cannot hold out any longer. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. Torch-smelting knight had finally fallen into the illusion. Of course, this merely meant that Luo Feng could carry out his interrogation. He was still unable to search his memories. Let me ask you, what special secret do you have? Luo Feng asked. With his scepter in his hands, torch-smelting knight started speaking in a mechanical manner. I sneak-attacked Stoic God and killed him. Luo Feng listened with furrowed brows. Something was not right. It did not sound as though there was anything threatening the primal universe. The primal universe was impregnated with hundreds of millions of races. Even the invincible existence, human form teacher origin, was suppressed by the universe origin. To be able to be termed as something that boded ill against the primal universe, where even teacher origin was mobilized, this was definitely no trivial matter. Have you ever left Yuan Ao secret region? Has Yuan Ao master ever ordered you to handle some important matters? Have you ever obtained any unique treasures, or met with any unique encounters? What makes you stand out from the other knights? What is special about you? Luo Feng interrogated torch-smelting master god without pause. Completely immersed within his illusionary world, torch-smelting master god answered all Luo Feng's questions with everything he knew. The more Luo Feng heard, the more confused he got. Then, he was struck by a sudden thought. A figure encased in golden light flew over. This was the other target found within the godly palace that caused the eyes of the golden toad to turn red, an undying spirit. This tall and burly life form was black all over. He merely stood in one spot with lifeless eyes. He had already fallen under Luo Feng's control, wordlessly and without any warning. Search his memories. Luo Feng was unable to search torch-smelting master god, but he was able to search those of this undying. A moment later, Luo Feng looked at the black and burly undying life form and torch-smelting master god. So coincidental. This undying spirit and the one I killed previously, Pov God, are all soul servants of this torch-smelting master god. Combining the two memories, Luo Feng discovered this common ground. With a thought in mind, Luo Feng made his move. In certain faraway lands within the Dark Continent, there were 12 undying spirits who could also cause the eyes of the golden toad to become red. With a single thought, Luo Feng released them from the sealed space. Then, by switching time and space, he shifted all of them into this towering palace hall. Within this palace hall, 15 figures suddenly gathered. Now, Luo Feng was with torch-smelting master god and 13 undying spirits. Every one of them here are targets. Cert. Immediately, Luo Feng went to the trouble of painstakingly searching the memories of every undying spirit present. Apart from torch-smelting master god, he searched the memories of all the other 13 undying spirits. Then he carefully carried out comparisons. There is nothing out of the norm. They are all very ordinary undying. And they crawled out step by step from the Dark Continent. Luo Feng analyzed this. The only common thing was, all 13 of them are soul servants of torch-smelting master god. Torch-smelting. Luo Feng looked at torch-smelting. How many soul servants do you have? A total of 20, torch-smelting master god replied. For have been annihilated. 16 left. Luo Feng took one look at the 13 undying spirits standing there expressionlessly, as though they were in a coma, and asked, all are undying. There are 3 demigods, torch-smelting master god replied. Under the command of which undying spirit, from which empire? Luo Feng asked. Since he had already searched the memories of these 13 undying spirits, he was naturally familiar with the geographical location of the entire Dark Continent. According to what torch-smelting master god said, Luo Feng was able to locate the 3 soul servant of torch-smelting master god, who were sector lord. He searched their memories, but the results were surprising. These 3 sector lords were unable to cause the eyes of the golden toad to turn red, so obviously, they were not the targets he was looking for. These 3 sector lords were not targets. But out of all the soul servants of torch-smelting master god, every single one of the undying servants are targets. Even torch-smelting master god himself is a target. Luo Feng pondered this. But torch-smelting master god himself does not seem to present any problems. Could it be? Torch-smelting, is Yuan Ao your master? Luo Feng asked. Yes, torch-smelting master god replied in a mechanical manner. Luo Feng laughed suddenly. So, it is really him. Luo Feng continued pressing him for more information. Do you know whether Yuan Ao master has other soul servants? Yes, there are 2 that I know of, torch-smelting master god replied in his mechanical voice again. Tell me their names. Where are they? Luo Feng asked. A short while later. Including torch-smelting master god, all 14 targets were annihilated without a second thought. Luo Feng retreated from this golden kingdom and immediately teleported away from the Dark Continent. Then he proceeded to an even wider continent out of the 12 large continents, Towering Continent. Within the mezzanine spaces corresponding to the universe space of the Yuan Ao secret region, in the depths of the limitless space debris, there was a vast, towering god country. This god country was mighty and boundless. A burly rider was seen on the back of his gigantic demon beast with tusks. He was tall, bulky, and his entire body was covered with sturdy armor. By the sides of his demon beast were 2 large, blood-red axes. On his face, there was a scar slashed across half of his face, adding on to his ferocity. How dare you insult me like that? I served him well, fought for him with my life, and yet he dared insult me so. Even my maid was snatched away from me and given to someone else. I will take my revenge, I definitely will. I will be back, and I will come back as the Great Holy One and stamp on the entire mighty flame fortress until it becomes nothing but a flat piece of land. The demon beast rider cursed and swore. Then his demon beast took off in a sprint. Rumbling of hooves were heard from behind. The demon beast rider looked behind, and for the moment, his eyes widened as he went pale. Behind him, An army of at least 100 demon beast riders were charging toward him with murderous intentions. A piercing sound was heard from the sky, causing this demon beast rider, Bur, to look up. In midair, there was a gigantic beast that was fiery red all over, and its scaled armor and wings were surrounded by a ring of flames. Fire pterosaur. There are only 9 fire pterosaurs in Mighty Flame Fortress, and just to kill me, a 5th grade rider, they have mobilized a fire pterosaur and 100 demon beast riders. Bur's eyes revealed a look of insanity as he grabbed a rider's rifle that was a good 36 feet long from the back of his demon beast in one swift move. With both hands, he held the rifle and took aim at the fire pterosaur fast approaching him from high up in the air. Beads of perspiration rolled down Bur's face as his entire body trembled. He gritted his teeth and stared. It was not fear he felt, it was because the fire pterosaur charging down from the sky was overwhelmingly oppressive. To be a worthy opponent of a fire pterosaur, one needed to be a 9th grade rider, which was just second to the level of a holy one. He was merely a 5th grade rider. Combining the efforts of 1,000 riders of his level would still be unable to defeat one fire pterosaur. The demon beast he was riding went soft in the knees and fell. Bur fell off its back in midair and crashed to the ground rapidly. Although his body was in a somersault as he fell, his hands were still holding onto the rifle and aiming at midair. Mighty Flame Family! Mighty Flame Family! You wretched beings! Bur roared. Even if I, the great Bur, were to perish now, I would come back as a demon rider to haunt you all. Ha ha ha! Demon rider? In your dreams. The fire pterosaur was hovering in midair while the other demon beast riders caught up at top speed. Soon, Bur was heavily surrounded. This troop of demon beast riders. Luofeng judged from where he was, high up in the sky, and seemed to consist of 3 different races. In terms of power, that flying beast should probably be of a star level 7th to 8th grade standard. Although flying was usually only possible for beings of universe level, this beast had wings and the innate ability it could rely on, so flying was already almost possible. As for those riders, they should mostly be of the Star Traveler level standard. The highest of the lot would, at most, be at a Star Traveler level 9th grade standard. A rider wearing the most elegant armor, who was riding a snow-white, single-horned beast, said, Bur, I am not going to be a bully. My underlings are not fighting you, only me. I will fight you. Come, Uncle Bur shall spank your bottom. Bur, holding on to his gigantic rifle, grinned. He was like a crazy demon as he stared at the handsome rider. He was aware that before the Mighty Flame family, he was a puny nobody. Even though he knew that putting up a resistance would cost him his life, he was not going to take it lying down. Suddenly, everything between heaven and earth fell into silence. It was as though time stopped. Even the wild grass by the roadside that was bending in the direction of the winds froze in their respective positions. The riders and the beast hovering in mid-air stopped moving too. What is happening? Bur was terrified as he held onto his rifle. A lone figure approached him slowly, a smile on his face as he looked at Bur. You shall do, said the man with his dark green wings. He looked at Bur, and an invisible force held Bur captive. Around 600 miles away, in the middle of a deserted plain, Bur was released and fell onto the ground. He immediately stood up, while continuing to blabber, I must have encountered a ghost. Could Uncle Bur have met with the demon ghost? Where is the fire pterosaur? Where is this? The big, burly man looked at the figure standing in front of him with great terror. The figure wore a black robe that looked harmlessly simple. With his dark green wings and skin and his fiery red, cropped hair, his entire being seemed to exude a faint, mysterious aura. Sir. Bur bowed immediately. Luofeng looked at Bur. After arriving at your world, I needed to find a life form to ask about certain things. You are the chosen one. I know you are fearful of that Mighty Flame family. Fret not. The troop that was after you will think you have escaped far away. Oh. You are guessing who I am. A holy one. A legendary being. A demigod. Bur's fear intensified. This being before him knew all the thoughts that were going through his mind. Luofeng laughed. Being at universe level, He could easily conduct a soul search on another being at a star traveler level, given his current power. There was no way the thoughts of such a weak little fellow could escape investigation. Luo Feng teased this fellow for fun, but at the same time, he was speedily scanning through his memories to conduct a meticulous search. Interesting world. Interesting young fellow. Luo Feng looked at Bur. At the same time, he turned to look far away into the mountains. Whatever caused the eyes of the golden toad to turn red is in that direction, and what lives there is actually what the locals call a legendary being. I admire your character, but I am curious to know what you will become if you own great power. Luo Feng studied Bur, who was in a mixed state of fear and uneasiness. Suddenly, a kiwi fruit seed, something ordinary that came from the universe, appeared on Luo Feng's palm. It was one of the countless materials hidden within Luo Feng's world ring. The next moment, it transformed into a stream of green light and enshrouded Bur. Bur was in great shock. Within an instant, he was entirely enveloped in that green light. Under the subtle control of Luo Feng's godly power, Bur's body continuously absorbed the essence of energy and achieved breakthroughs repeatedly. His life gene level was soaring at a frightening speed, almost instantaneously. Within a short moment, a 9th-grade universe-level being was born. Luo Feng smiled as he watched everything happen. Since he had already obtained the information he needed, then what he had done to Bur was merely out of randomness to appease his earlier curiosity. To a great universe master, the value of a small seed taken from the universe could most probably be neglected. Turning around, Luo Feng stepped forward and left. Bur felt endless pain permeating his body. It came from the improvement of his life gene. He couldn't even think straight. He could barely open his eyes. All of a sudden, even the mountain range in the distance became clear. Bur felt that his hearing and sight were thousands of times better. So powerful. Impressive. The scars on Bur's face had already disappeared, and his face became clear. He extended his thick arms and swung them. The armor on his body cracked. Bur felt that the armor on his body was as fragile as paper. It could be destroyed if he simply tightened his muscles, which dazed him. Bur immediately started to search himself, and he was totally shocked. Is this real? Bur floated in the sky, and the original power in his body made him growl. He surged like a trace of light, then flew in an S-shaped curve. He dove and stopped when just 1 inch away from the ground. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. It's real. I became a saint. And I'm a pinnacle saint now. It's only 1 step away from a legend. Ha ha ha. The Yuan Ao Supreme God. The Great Pov God. Bur was exhilarated. There were billions of life forms on Juan land, and it was a long way from level 1 to level 9. Bur, as an example, had become an apprentice of a knight, and all he had done was to deal with minor issues for a second-level knight. He could grow only after being instructed. After becoming a knight, he would need to go through one war after another, wars among horde leaders and even wars among empires. He had been to armies and slave camps, and he had survived all of them. He successfully passed level 3 and level 4 and entered Mighty Flame Family, becoming one of its knights. Mighty Flame Family was a family that ruled a large area, and there was a saint in the family. It was extremely difficult to progress from level 3 to level 4, and this was the case from level 6 to level 7, as well. As for becoming a saint from level 9, it was even more difficult. Once someone became a saint, he would be able to travel the sky and land and to become a great being on Juan land. When someone became a legend, it was an incredible achievement. It would be easy for them to establish a horde leader kingdom, and once someone became a half-god, he would be able to establish an empire. Those who were under level 3 didn't matter at all. It had taken Bur decades to become a 5th-level knight. Saint. I'm now a pinnacle saint, and I'm 1 step away from becoming a legend. Bur was thrilled. I heard that only being blessed by God can make someone's power surge like this. Otherwise, it might take me thousands of years to become a pinnacle saint. That great being must be a god. Isn't that Pov God? Bur's body trembled. There were hundreds of gods on Juan land, and each of them ruled areas of trillions of square miles. Other God. Bur was terrified. Godly wars were the norm on Juan land. I can't tell anyone, not even my wife and children. It'll be a disaster if I do so. Bur clenched his teeth and smirked. He looked toward Mighty Flame Castle. Mighty Flame Castle. The leader only became a saint around 100 years ago, and it's a long way to go for him to become a pinnacle saint. My joyful days have come. I'll rule a land, build a castle, and have tens of thousands of women living in my castle. Bur shook his body, and the armor turned into ashes. He gathered his original power and made new armor, then flew toward that mighty flame castle. Luo Feng stood in the sky and overlooked the mountains in the distance. Furious Flame Mountain. The target is there. Luo Feng looked in the distance. The ancestral god from the ancestral god school showed up. Is it a life or a valuable? Luo Feng had already completely forgotten about Bur who he just rescued. He only needed to get to know the world, which was why he had chosen Bur, and he had compensated him by improving his life gene level. According to the memories of Bur, the mountain in front of Luo Feng was called Furious Flame Mountain, and a legend lived in there. A legend? Luo Feng shook his head and smiled. Although Juan land was in a universe secret region, Yuan Ao Master put too many life forms in the land, which led to overpopulation. They were only able to get a tiny portion of universe energies. Besides, Yuan Ao Master only seized life forms from weak races who had limited potential, so most of the individuals on Juan land were not more powerful than adult Earthlings. Level 1 to Level 3 were under Star Traveler level. Level 4 to Level 6 were Star Traveler level, and Level 7 to Level 9 were Star level. Saints were at Universe level. Legends were at Domain Lord level. Half-deities were Sector Lords. As for deities, they were undying. More than one legend lives in this angry flame mountain, Luo Feng thought as he was able to sense the power ripple. I can't let anyone go. Luo Feng became solemn. Angry Flame Mountain was over 600,000 miles long, and there were powerful demon beasts living in it, so no civilians were living around the mountain. Deep inside Angry Flame Mountain, in a black castle surrounded by mountains, boiling magma flowed under the castle, and there were strange beasts living in the magma. There were golden armored knights around the castle, and all of them were at the 9th level. The castle was surrounded by magma. A black metal bridge was connecting the door and the outside. A white-caped elder approached from the distance, and each step took him over 300 feet. There was white light glowing around him, and Luo Feng could tell that he was a legend. Soon, that legend walked onto the bridge. Open the door, shouted the elder. Yes. The door opened slowly, and a flamed knight stood in front of the door. That knight was also a legend. Why are you here? Asked the flamed knight. Don't you know you can't come here unless you have something urgent? I do have something urgent to tell the great Pov God, said the white-caped elder as he walked inside the black castle. Inside a palace of the castle, a gleaming undying fighter sat on the throne. Pov God looked down at the servants and was listening to his servants report to him. He felt superior. After all, he manipulated the wars and the slaughtering in his territory, making the empires more and more hostile toward each other. He would only show himself when everything went out of his control. You've done well, said Pov God. The white-caped elder began to tear up from the great deity's compliment. The white-caped elder was waiting for instructions for the next step. However, he saw a blurry, golden light. He raised his head and found that. Where's Pov God? Pov God, who had previously been on the throne and emanating golden light, had disappeared. The servants and the 3 half-deities were all dazed. Then a half-deity said, Pov God is resting now. I need instructions for the next step. The white-caped elder was anxious, but he answered, sure. Those in the palace all left, including the half-deities, as they all thought that Pov God had left for something important. What they didn't know was that Pov God was sitting on the throne all the time, but those sector lords and domain lords weren't able to see him anymore. Who are you? Pov God gazed at the man in front of him, terrified as never before. The dimming golden light covered an area of 300 square feet, and the power contained in the golden light petrified Pov God. Luo Feng looked at Pov God in front of him and couldn't help laughing at himself inside. I was so careful and performed the most powerful binding skill I have, Golden Country. I didn't expect my target to be a weak undying fighter. Luo Feng had performed Golden Country in the sky above Angry Flame Mountain, and he immediately narrowed the range when he found that his target was too weak, which was why those half-deities saw a golden flash. "Tell me everything important in your life," said Luo Feng. Sure, said Pov God. "I was born in." Luo Feng seemed to be listening, but actually, he had performed an illusion. After all, his mind and willpower were at the universe master level, and he was a spiritual force leader even though he was not good at illusion. He was a great being following the engraving path. He had created several illusion skills, which easily trapped Pov God. Luo Feng easily searched his memories. Luo Feng could tell from the golden toad that his target was Pov God in front of him. However, he couldn't believe that a mere undying fighter could be harmful to the original universe or that ancestral God sent him just for this. Luo Feng felt that something wrong. He could sense that Pov God was only a part of the whole. An undying fighter who had lived for an eternity had enormous memories. Fortunately, Luo Feng's brain worked incredibly fast, though it still took him around 5 minutes to categorize all the memories of Pov God. Still, the result dazed Luo Feng a little bit. I didn't find anything special or worth hesitating. Luo Feng was a bit surprised. "I became a general after becoming a saint," said Pov God, speaking like a robot. He had lost all the light in his eyes. Luo Feng looked at Pov God, frowning. Pov God was an undying fighter born on Juan Empire, and he had started from the bottom. After becoming a half-deity, he had established an empire. He led the empire to join wars upon wars, and after the empire fell, he started to adventure in Juan land alone. Eventually, he became an undying fighter. Pov God's soul was then controlled by Torch-Smelting Master God, and then he joined Torch-Smelting Master God. Based on Pov God's memories, the hundreds of undying fighters on Juan land were divided into 2 teams. One of them was on the Torch-Smelting team, and the other was on the Mohi team. When the teams fought each other, they were led by top-tier great beings from different empires, and they were led by undying fighters. That's all. There's nothing special in Pov God's memories. Luo Feng was confused as the memories of Pov God were normal. Now that I know his memories. Luo Feng looked at Pov God sitting in front of him. Following ancestral God's order, everyone who makes the eyes of Golden Toad turn red should be killed. The dimming golden light was surrounding Pov God as well. Luo Feng moved his mind, and the power from Golden Country annihilated Pov God's godly body. The power of Golden Country was much stronger than a universe master's control over space and time, and it was at the same level as a top-tier domain-type true treasure. If it was fully utilized, top-tier universe overlords would be executed. As for a mere undying fighter, a mere slice of power could annihilate him. There was a vast desert on the vast Juan land, and at the end of the desert was a huge forest at the end of a boundless swamp bordered by mountain ranges rimmed with volcanoes. A towering palace stood at the center of the volcanoes. This was the top godly palace of the Torch-Smelting camp. It was where Torch-Smelting Master God lived. The sinister aura of the godly palace and the sector lord-level demon beasts were enough to stop countless great beings. Torch-Smelting Master God was holding a scepter and standing at the high of the godly palace. He looked confused. Pov God died. Based on the information Pov God gave me, the enemy is someone too powerful for him to fight, and he can emanate golden domain, which was strong enough to terrify him. Can it be other Master Gods? Torch-Smelting Master God wondered. He didn't expect it to be a being from the outside, as Yuan Ao secret region belonged to Yuan Ao Master, who had a high status in the universe. Yuan Ao Master had become a universe master at the start of the universe, and he wasn't easy to contend with. No powers were willing to mess with Yuan Ao Master. Torch-Smelting Master God found it impossible for Yuan Ao Master to have killed that one. That power must have at least come from a Master God. Based on the descriptions, he looks like someone from Ka Vulture Clan, but Ka Vulture Clan doesn't have a Master God. Was he turned from my enemies? Also, that golden domain is so powerful. Is that from a domain-type true treasure? Or a domain-type treasure? There were only a few dozen universe knights under Yuan Ao Master, and only 3 of them had been bestowed true treasures. Why didn't he kill Pov God right away? Torch-smelting Master God was irritated. Although he controlled Pov God's soul, Pov God had stopped sending messages after first contact with the mysterious being, and he couldn't get in touch with Pov God. As for God Country transportation, torch-smelting Master God hadn't even thought of that, as he didn't want to fight a Master God. Humph. I'll wait and see. There are over 100 undying fighters under me, and I won't take revenge this time. If you do that again, don't blame me for starting a war between Master Gods. The red eyes of torch-smelting Master God glinted fiercely. Luo Feng floated above Angry Flame Mountain. His golden-horned beast body and Mosha body were checking the objects in Pov God's world ring, but none of those objects made the toad's eyes turn red. Luo Feng waved his hand, and a golden token showed up in his hands. Ancestral God. Luo Feng used it with familiarity, as it was exactly like the token given by Master Sitting Mountain Guest. Ancestral God gave a response quickly. What is it, Luo Feng? I found a target who was an ordinary undying fighter. He was the one who made the eyes turn red. I've inspected his memories, and that undying fighter has always been living on Juan land. There was nothing special about him. Luo Feng reported. Did I finish the task? Ha ha ha. It's only been a short while, Luo Feng. You've only killed an ordinary undying fighter who was in no way harmful to the original universe. Keep killing. Kill all those who turn the eyes red. Then when should I stop? Asked Luo Feng, as he didn't want to keep killing. I'll tell you when it's done, and the universe origin will tell me, too. Go, Luo Feng. According to the instructions given by the universe origin, that Pov God is only a foot soldier. Keep searching. The communications were cut off. Luo Feng put away the golden token and shook his head. The golden toad can only inspect an area of 100 million square kilometers. Juan land is so large, and I've only searched a small part of it after half a year. If I keep doing that, I might alert someone. Fortunately, no one on Juan land can escape me, unless there are some hidden supreme beings. I might as well begin. Luo Feng infused his Shawu wings with his burning godly power. Dimming golden light enveloped everywhere on Juan land, the magma, the abyss, and the islands where demon beasts lived or Death Ocean. They were all covered by the golden light. Even the apex of Juan land was covered. This was Golden Country. Golden Country could cover an area with a diameter of 80 light-years at most, and Juan land was obviously much smaller, so it was incredibly easy to encompass the whole land. Even top-tier universe overlords can be killed in my Golden Country, and even a universe master will be slowed down significantly here. Luo Feng immediately stopped the space ripples so that no great beings could teleport themselves. It was easy to manipulate time and space in Golden Country, so a space seal was easy. Luo Feng stood above Angry Flame Mountain and sensed everywhere on Juan land carefully. Why is there a trace of gold on the sky? Look. It's like the ocean is covered with a golden yarn. Everyone on Juan land was thrilled. Fortunately, the golden light was inconspicuous. It covered an enormous area, so one could only distinguish the golden light by looking carefully. What is that? Is it a Master God? All the undying fighters on Juan land were shocked. The weaker ones couldn't feel it, but undying fighters could tell that there was boundless power contained in the dim glow, as if they would all be annihilated if it was let out a little bit. Little did they know, the 2 Master Gods, Torch-smelting Master God and Mohi Master, were also terrified. Torch-smelting Master God held a scepter, and the golden light was binding him like ropes. He couldn't move at all. His eyes were filled with terror. How is it so powerful? He said. I can't even move a bit. And the space around me is sealed. Damn it. Mohi Master God's scorpion tail was slashing, but the golden light didn't even give him a chance to fight. His triangular head roar. Yuan Ao Supreme God. Are you punishing me? Luo Feng nodded. Good. No hidden beings. The most powerful beings are those 2 universe knights, Torch Smelting Master God and Mohi Master God. Luo Feng freed other areas and only kept the space seal around Torch Smelting Master God and Mohi Master God. Luo Feng teleported twice and showed up 10 million kilometers away from Torch Smelting Master God and Mohi Master God, inspecting the area using the golden toad. Mohi Master God didn't make the eyes red, but Torch Smelting Master God. This is the origin. Luo Feng stood above a volcano around 10 million kilometers away from Torch Smelting Master God, and the eyes of the golden toad turned red even from a distance. Standing in midair above the mouth of the volcano, Luo Feng disappeared suddenly. Then, one after another, domains connected to the Dark Continent started appearing, but Luo Feng would always appear within 1 million miles of a place where undying spirits could be found. Not red. Not red. Red. Not red. After teleporting for a few hundred times, within an extremely short time, he finished surveying the few hundred undying spirits. Out of these undying spirits, there was a total of 12 who could cause both eyes of the golden toad to turn red. Being prudent, Luo Feng immediately put all 12 undying spirits within a dim, sealed space around them to ensure that all 12 undying spirits were unable to move an inch. Now, it is time to go meet Torch Smelting Master God. Luo Feng trod ahead in midair. One step forward, and he arrived directly above the towering godly palace, which was completely surrounded by volcanoes. Huh! Luo Feng frowned. There are 2 targets within this godly palace. With the golden toad, he could detect that there were 2 targets beneath him. Within the godly palace, in a quiet palace hall, Torch Smelting Master God held onto his scepter as he stood in one spot. He was unable to break free from the invisible golden light restraining him. Suddenly, there was absolute silence. A man with dark green wings was slowly descending from the sky and landed in this palace hall, which was in the highest point of this godly palace. Yet he was completely unnoticed by the guards stationed around the entire godly palace. Torch Smelting Master God was a little intimidated when he saw the man before him. He said, "If I may ask, why is my lord here at Yuan Ao secret region? If I am clear of your purpose of visit, I can request an audience for you with Yuan Ao Master. Why not address him as Yuan Ao Supreme God?" Luo Feng jested. At the same time, he made a speedy judgment that this Torch Smelting Master God was the cause of the eyes of that golden toad turning red, and not some strange object. "My lord, you possess such power," Torch Smelting Master God said reverentially. "You must be a universe master from other powers of the universe." Luo Feng made no denial. "My lord, please feel free to give me your orders," Torch Smelting Master God said. "I, Torch Smelting, will do my best to serve you." "Let me ask you," Luo Feng began. "Please speak your mind." Torch Smelting Master God had barely started when his eyes darkened as though he had already entered an illusion. Luo Feng frowned as he looked at Torch Smelting Master God before him. "I suppose he is only an elementary knight. Yet, I could only manage to make him fall into an illusion. I am unable to search his memory." Suspended in midair above this god country was a gigantic continent. This suspended continent had many black chains that were all at least 60 million miles long, plunged straight into the bottomless ocean. The entire suspended continent seemed unable to float away because of these few hundred huge black chains connected to it. Right in the core of this suspended continent, there was a vast lake. Within the lake, there was a boiling hot black fluid. If any universe knight were to fall within this black fluid, he would be burned and annihilated within an instant. There was an incomparably towering figure lying over there. This towering figure was like a giant sculpted out of a gigantic mountain, and it lay within the vast lake brimming with that boiling hot black fluid. The giant sat up suddenly. His head was squarish with only one large eye and a mouth. His godly body wore grey armor covered with a layer of mercury-like liquid set into a continuous motion. The moment he sat up, it was as though a towering mountain were emerging out of a lake filled with black fluid. The black fluid continuously flowed from his body to return to the lake. He was none other than the famous Yuan Ao Master. "The misty, golden domain," Yuan Ao Master said in a low voice. "Even Torch Smelting is unable to resist. Looks resembling that of the Ka Vulture clan with an invincible power. Oh, he has fallen into an illusion." Torch-smelting Master God was his soul servant, so naturally, they could communicate via their souls even if they were very far away from one another. Even at the very instant, he knew he had fallen into an illusion. Torch-smelting Master God was quick at providing Yuan Ao Master with information immediately. What a pity! He quickly fell into enemies' hands and was no longer able to transmit information. What strong power! A top-tier universe overlord? No. He must be a universe master. Yuan Ao Master waited in silence. Only a short moment later, Yuan Ao Master felt his servant, torch-smelting Master God, being annihilated. He really is dead. Yuan Ao Master affirmed the fact in a low voice, his eyes burning with a strange emotion. Everything is happening as expected. Once the plan is activated, the ancestral God School, the self-proclaimed guardians of the primal universe origin, will be sure to make a move. Indeed, this move came pretty quickly. The ancestral God School must have sent a universe master. Bring it on. What a great sacrifice, he continued, but ancestral God School coming here doesn't really mean much. Since the great being from the ancestral God School has arrived, I should also move on to my next step, the demons. The Space Beast Alliance. The Northern Territory Alliance. They should all make their way here one after the other. Luo Feng was oblivious to everything that was happening. Strange, he thought. It is understandable if Yuan Ao Master did not know about me killing Pov God. But I killed his soul servant, torch-smelting Master God. Yuan Ao Master would surely learn of it almost immediately. Luo Feng stood high up in the sky of the vast tower continent, with slightly furrowed brows as he considered. But Yuan Ao Master has not made a single move at all. Yuan Ao Master might have very strong power, but Luo Feng had no fear for him. But Yuan Ao Master did not appear. Luo Feng felt that something was not right. If there was someone slaughtering great beings in the human territory, then universe masters of the human race would have reacted and appeared quickly. Besides, based on the information obtained from earlier investigations, torch-smelting Master God and the other undying soul servants were already confirmed as targets. Since Yuan Ao Master was the master of torch-smelting Master God, it was very likely that the source might be found with Yuan Ao Master. We shall see. I am very interested to know what tricks he has up his sleeves and what could mean harm to the primal universe. With a thought in mind, Luo Feng made his move. An endless, misty, golden light, bringing with it the power of Milky Way Horde Leader, landed directly on this towering continent with a maximum diameter of 5.1 light-years. At this very moment, not one of those great beings on towering continent would ever hold hopes of eluding Luo Feng's control. This video will end here.